I'd like to welcome everybody here. I'm Jenny Seydel. I'm the Executive Director of the Green Schools National Network. We are here for a kickoff celebration of a wonderful new resource and tool for teachers, the Carbon Almanac, and we have an amazing panel. I'm not going to introduce them all to you right now, but we are super excited that they've been able to join us, and that we are super excited about hosting this event today. So we believe at the Green Schools National Network that educating for a sustainable future is no longer an option, it is a necessity. And it's a critical component. We believe that every child in every school across the country needs to understand what it means to become a sustainable citizen and to co-create a sustainable future. So our vision is that every child attend a healthy, equitable, and sustainable school, and we do systems change work across the country in a growing network of school districts and individual schools across the country. And we are addressing and touching 8,500 teachers with 300 schools and additional 50 corporate partners and 15 districts. So our work as systems change agents really focuses on whole systems work, whole district work, because we believe that one teacher can hit a few children, but if we change the systems, we can address the needs of all children. So we work, like I said, doing systems change work. We're building this network of change agents within public schools across the country. We provide resources, we coach leaders, and we coach curriculum and instruction leaders and teachers. We create sustainability action plans and strategic plans with our district partners and our school partners. So that is who we are and why we believe the Carbon Almanac is an essential tool. What we find when we work in our schools and school districts is there's a very limited understanding of what an individual can do, but there's even less of an understanding about how a school system can address the critical issues that are facing us right now. And so when Jen Simpson approached me about partnering with the Carbon Almanac for this launch event and sharing the tool and resource with all of our partners, I jumped at the chance. Jen and I have known each other for a number of years. She is the executive director, CEO of Integrated Works, that is headquartered in Boulder, Colorado. She is a dear friend, and as you engage with her this afternoon, you will know why, and you will understand her energy and passion for making the world a better place. So with little ado, I am going to pass the baton to Jen.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jenny. Is everyone able to hear me okay? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Yes, great. I really appreciate you making the time. I appreciate everyone who has shown up today to be part of this conversation. And I would like to start by inviting my fellow panelists to introduce themselves and really just say a little bit about yourself and what inspired you to get involved in the Carbon Almanac. I'll ask Seth for you to go first to talk a little bit about what inspired the Almanac in the first place. And then I will close that out and tell you a little bit about me and how I got involved. So Seth, can you kick us off?
My name's Seth Godin. I'm an author and a teacher. I've started some internet companies. My life was changed by Mr. Guillaume when I was 8 years old in third grade, and I care very much about teachers and the way people learn. So the idea for the Almanac came about in September last year. I've built almanacs before, but never like this. I am a contributor and a ringleader for this project, but the 97,000 word almanac was built by hundreds of us around the world in a life-changing connected movement. And to extend it to schools and to teachers like you is a huge part of what we're trying to do.
Thanks, Seth. Manon, can you go next, please?
Yes, my name is Manon. I'm an artist and change maker. I got really excited about working on the Carbon Almanac because I care about creating a more sustainable future for us all. I've also been teaching regular curriculum in schools, but through art for the past 15 years. And I get super excited about creative ways to get kids excited about learning.
Thanks. Paige? You're on mute.
There you go. That was bound to happen, right? It was just bound to happen. My name is Paige Nejim, and I live near Boston. And I got involved in the Almanac because I love to simplify things that seem complicated. And so I started my sort of journey last October, writing for there's a section of the adult Carbon Almanac called Climate Change for Rookies. And then once that was put to press, I had a little extra juice in me. And I thought there's so much here for kids that we can somehow repurpose and make, for that audience. And so that's was where I really focused my attention.
Excellent, thanks. And I'm Jen Simpson. As Jenny said, I'm the CEO at Integrated Work, and I've followed Seth's work and gotten his email blogs for a long time. And when he put out the call last fall for volunteers for this project, it really brought together such a collection of things that I care passionately about. I've been doing work on environmental issues and climate for a long time. Our work really sits squarely at the intersection of healthcare, education, and the environment. And I really believe that in order to change systems at scale, we have to change how leaders lead and how organizations are set up. And so the process of putting this almanac together has been a great example of all of those things. I was one of the first 100 on the team, and I brought several of my team members on where they've gotten exposure to people all over the world and really gotten professional development and exposure to ideas that are hard to recreate in the day-to-day of organizational life. So it's been a fantastic journey for all of us. Because there are so many of you on the phone, on the call, we don't have time to have all of you introduce yourselves, but we always like to know a little bit about who we're talking to. So I want to get a little bit of input before we dive into just talking about what the Almanac is all about. And so if you could pull your phones out, I would like to put a little word cloud together. And what I'd like to do is take whatever messaging app you use and text the letters IWPOLL to the number 22333. So the phone number is 22333. What you text is IWPOLL. You should get a little pop-up saying that you're in the survey. And I'd love to just hear a few words from each of you on what moving the needle on climate looks like, your organization, from your role where you sit. And as you start to see words populate, if there's something that resonates, feel free to echo it and you'll see it grow bigger on the screen.
So Jen, could you give us the codes again? I'll type them into the chat.
Yes, and they are right at the top of the slide as well. So the number to text to is 22333, and what you text is IWPOLL. IWPOLL to 22333. And we've got some folks figuring it out. Engagement, commitment, accountability, community, recovery, hope, action, education, technology. See that word commitment getting really big in the middle. Part of the spirit behind the Almanac and our tagline is that it's not too late. And really the notion that grounding people in facts, creating connections between people that inform and inspire people to action is how we're going to move the needle on systems change. And we know that you are all living that day in and day out. I'm going to stop screen sharing in just a second, but feel free to continue populating. I will share this screenshot with the folks at Green Schools, and we'll send it back out to all of you with the materials following our time together today. So I'm going to spend the next few minutes just asking some questions of my colleagues on the panel here, and then we do anticipate some time for Q&A. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in chat along the way. Jenny will be curating them, and we'll try to answer some things thematically. If there's anything we don't get to today, we will send you the answers in an FAQ after the webinar is over. So my first question, Seth, is for you. You know, when you dreamt up this idea, as you said, you've done almanacs before, but never quite like this. What were you hoping to accomplish when you set out on this project?
So I'm not shy, and I also don't consider myself stupid. But when it came time to have conversations about the climate, what I discovered is I was being shy because I felt stupid. And I figured that there are a lot of people out there, teachers in particular, who, because the problem has been intentionally made complicated, because there's been so much misinformation, because people have politicized something that has nothing to do with politics, many people have been seduced into believing that A, this is a problem of personal responsibility, of composting, of plastic recycling, and of carbon footprint, and B, that we shouldn't talk about it. And I'm sorry, I'm getting, somebody should go on mute if they wouldn't mind. That could be,
I hear a little background.
is anybody else hearing that, or is it just me? I'm sorry.
I'm hearing a little background noise too.
Let's see if it's coming from me.
I'm just hearing you plain as can.
Okay, great. All fixed. Sorry about that. So the purpose of the almanac is to, in a completely non-political, fact-based, footnoted way that's accessible, help people see that the problem is simpler than it looks, but it's really difficult. And that if we understand the systems that are at work, we can do something about them. We have more power than we know. We have more ability to teach other people than we admit. And I couldn't be more thrilled at what came out the other end between the kids' book, The Educator's Guide, which is a page-by-page, lesson-by-lesson plan, as well as the almanac itself. We have created the conditions for people like the people on this call to be able to actually teach what needs to be taught and to make a difference.
Learned things that you might not have expected to learn along the way.
Three of the biggest pleasant surprises are on this call with me today. Watching each of you who I did not know before this started showing up in ways that I never could have expected, leading, creating, connecting over and over again. It's just astonishing and thrilling and magical. And what I learned about the science and the history of it, I mean, the 2-page memo from Exxon, the understanding of what's true about plastics recycling, the way that we see so much progress happening, none of that is stuff that was coming on my radar. And so I learned a lot about the world, but I also learned a lot about people.
Yeah, thanks. So I want to transition, since we've got so many educators on the call today, to talking about the Educator's Guide. And Manuel, you were part of developing that from the beginning. And so I'd like for you to just start by telling us a little bit about the process. You know, where did the idea to create an Educator's Guide come from, and how did it get pulled together?
So we got really excited about the content of the book, obviously. And as we were finishing all the articles that were going to go in the book, we had this amazing energy in the community to do more. Like, how do we get this information in the hands of the right people? And so we thought, what better way than to pull the educators together and find ways to get the information to kids and to youth out there. So we started translating the articles of the Almanac, the book, into lessons, activities, in a guide. We thought we were going to have 10, maybe 12 lessons. It ended up being a 60-page guide. you know, it has a nice table of content you can navigate with icons. It can look a little overpowering because it's so thick, but you can break down the lessons and use them in all sorts of ways. It could be short, it could be long. But really, when we got together, the idea was, let's make this information easy for teachers to use with groups of kids and youth. So that's what we tried to do. People came together in an amazing way, just like every aspect of the almanac. People just organically join and give the best of themselves and make others' ideas better. So in collaboration, that is the most amazing part for me, was to see that in action. So there was about a few dozen of us that contributed to making the Educator's Guide. We come from all different backgrounds, and we hope that you enjoy it and use it and give us feedback. And we're inviting educators to also create their own lessons based on the Carbon Almanac or the kids book and submit it to us so we can add to the edition.
And it's free, and the link is right there in the chat. It's also worth noting that every single person on this project is a volunteer. 100% of our royalties and our advance goes to giving books to nonprofits, as well as to promoting the book and planting trees. So all of us are here for exactly the same reason. Back to you, Jennifer.
Yeah, thanks, Seth, for naming that. And over 500 books have already gone to schools across the Green Schools National Network. They've already shipped. Some schools already have them in hand. And if there are schools who want more books, we'll have a link for you to provide information at the end of the call so that we can get books into your hands. Manon, I'd love for you to say a little bit more about who the Educator's Guide is designed for. Is it tailored for a particular grade level or subject matter? Is it just for science classes? Can it be used more broadly? What should people know about how to use it and get the most out of it?
Excellent. So we had those questions when we began the process as well, and we couldn't decide. So we decided, okay, let's go and run with it. Some people created lessons for specific age groups. Some people created lessons for specific school subjects. And so it varies. What is the thread that ties it all together is that it all comes from the Carbon Almanac or the kids book. And so we try to make all activities experiential. So it would trigger the kids and the youth curiosity. It would get them to work together. It also brings creativity and collaboration into the activities. Some of the activities are more intense in that way. They require educators to really dive in and accept that sometimes those group processes are not easy or simple, but there are lessons in there that are simple. You can just print the worksheets and they fill it in. There's a wide range of possibilities. You can navigate the Educator's Guide by age, by school subject, or by duration.
And so the Educator's Guide is available on the website, the links in the chat, it'll be in the materials that we send out, but it didn't stop there. Once the Educator's Guide was complete, people started dreaming up new ideas for other kinds of resources and activities. So tell me a little bit about that and what some of those newest tools are.
So as we went along in the process, me and Paige crossed paths, and Paige was already working on the rookie section. And then we got excited about because we were speaking to educators, we were speaking to adults, but we got really excited about speaking directly to kids and to youth. So Paige went ahead and created a whole group around the kids book, but there's also podcasts and all kinds of other possibilities. And one thing that we're working on right now that's specific to educators is we're putting the lessons into Seesaw, the platform, the online platform that some teachers use, a lot of teachers use. So some of the lessons are in there. If you want to check it out, it's under the Carbon Almanac.
Fantastic. Thanks. And the kids' book has already gotten a lot of play. I've got mine right here. I've got a 10-year-old nephew. This has its name on it. So, and, you know, a few weeks ago, we did a worldwide book signing. You can see there's some people on the call here who've got their books behind them. Mine is covered in signatures. But I also had copies of the kids' book out during that signing event. And people just loved picking it up and flipping through it. And so, Paige, tell us a little bit about how the kids' book was born, because it's not a direct translation of the Carbon Almanac. It really is a book for kids designed to orient them to the subject matter and get them engaged. How did it come about?
Yes, so it came about on a Sunday afternoon with my 88-year-old mother-in-law having dinner with us, and my son Matthew, who helped with the Carbon Almanac. He's 15, and he was trying to explain to his grandmother about climate change. And she was having such a hard time understanding how her hairdryer, he kept saying, like, your hairdryer is a problem. She could not understand that because it was invisible to her. There was no flames coming out of the hairdryer. And Matthew was having such a hard time explaining it to her. I thought, oh my goodness, look at this. This is a juxtaposition that doesn't happen very often. How often is it that a child knows more than an adult? And this is what was happening at my table. It happened. That's one of the stories. That's a pretty powerful story, but that happened over and over and over again. As I dug in to write the rookie section, my kids were like, Mom, you didn't know this? They were learning it in school and we had not learned it in school. And so there was this big chasm between the kids in my family and myself. And so we saw that as a huge opportunity to one of the themes of the book is for the kids to find some adults and teach them what they know. Because just that action is better than any recycling will ever do. And so that is the origin story of the book. It was on a Sunday afternoon and it was my 88-year-old mother-in-law. And I will tell you the other thing that was so interesting, like there's a lot of 80 something year old people in my family. My mother, when this book came out in May, she swiped it from my table and she came back and said to me, Paige, I feel so much better. I was not talking about climate change because I didn't understand it. I didn't understand the mechanics of it. I thought it had something to do with the ozone layer or whatever. And she felt so much better about she's stealing my book and then, but what she learned from it. So that is the origin story.
And so since that origin story, which wasn't all that long ago, it really
Right.
came together pretty quickly. And, you know, artists from all over the world contributed. It's absolutely beautiful. But it's also taken on a little bit of a life of its own. There's a kids podcast, and tell us about all of the other resources.
Yeah, so one of the things that we thought about, I don't know when it was, Seth, but do you remember me reaching out to you saying, what if we could name the next generation? Like, then I think we could just like drop the mic and be like, we're done. We've spread the word. And so we came up with this this name. One of the gentlemen that was working on the kids' book with me came up with the name Generation Carbon. And we thought that is so true. We subsequently changed to Gen C because there's carbon, there's climate, there's COVID, that this is what these kids are going to have to deal with growing up. But yeah, so as part of that, we had, there was a podcast that sort of is a tentacle of it. The Educator's Guide, the Seesaw Lessons, all became part of this Gen C umbrella. And it's all free. That's the beauty of it. It's all free. Oh, wait, and there's translations. We've got 4 translations up so far. And another thing that's kind of neat is that for reading specialists, if you are looking for a book in dyslexia font, which most people don't even know what that is, but there's a font for people with dyslexia or reading disabilities that is easier to read. And my son Matthew has dyslexia, and he was insistent that we reach out to the dyslexia font people, get them to donate their font because it's not, apparently you can't just, swipe fonts. And we now have a dyslexia font for reading specialists as well. And that's on our translations page as well. So all of these tentacles and all out of thin air, really, like it was just like, okay, let's try this. And then people just showed up.
And if I could just jump in and talk about fresh thin air for a second. Paige, it was February 1st that the team came up with Generation Carbon. The thing that's worth noting is here we are in August talking about a project that started less than a year ago that is now translated into more than 6 languages, that has touched 1 million or more people around the world. And not one of us was qualified to do it.
Nope.
And there is no teacher on this call who's qualified to teach climate at any given level. We simply must begin. And this is the moment for teachers to show up and say, no one has proven the best way to teach this. Let's begin. Nobody has sat down with the school board and talked about Meatless Mondays. Let's begin. Because the only way to make things better is to begin. And this has been a lesson in that when hundreds of people, only one of whom had a PhD, came together, we began. And expertise isn't the point. The point is a posture of learning and teaching.
Seth, this is Jenny, and I want to say that that's how we started the Green Schools National Network. Nobody was doing this work. Nobody was organizing it or saying that it's possible or that it was even necessary. And, we started connecting with schools around the country, district level leaders around the country who were like, this has to be one of the central features of what we're doing in education today. So I love that you said that, because that's exactly how we got started. And we're a growing movement, and hopefully we can hold hands together for a long period of time and continue to grow together, because it is the most essential thing that we have to do for the future of humanity on this planet. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, and I also just want to underscore that things materialize out of thin air when committed people take that first step and then take the next one, and then find, that they're not alone in taking those steps. And so, Paige, before we transition away from the kids' book, can you just say what languages the books have been translated to? And you were talking a little bit earlier about foreign language teachers also potentially being able to leverage them. Say a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so let me just open up and see how many we've got so far. Let me go over here and let's look at how many translations we have. So we have it in French, German, and we have it in Canadian French, and we have it in Brazilian Portuguese. And then we have the English version in English and also in the dyslexia font, which the dyslexia font should probably be the only font we're using because it's easier for everybody to read. But we've got a bunch more coming. Somebody signed up today to do Hebrew. We've got somebody doing Turkish. So it's going far and wide. And we even have, this is the coolest thing about the thin air process, is that people jump in and join our group that you never would expect. And we have a translation company that's doing 7 different translations for us as part of just like their giving back to this cause. And Jen, what was your other question?
Well, the question I asked a little bit before that was just, what's been most exciting and inspiring for you as you've seen these people sort of come out of thin air and out of the woodwork to bring this to life?
Oh, I love this, right? I don't know these are the people I would have chosen to have be my friends since I was 6 years old, right? So we all met on this project, and I'm not sure, like I'd love to replicate it. I'm not sure it'll ever be replicated in the level that it was, it's like being on a hit sitcom. Like I imagine the people at the office all feel the same way, right? Like, wow, what a run. And so I just love it.
Fantastic. Thanks. So Seth, I want to go back to you for just a couple of things, and then I see we've got a few questions coming into the chat. I mean, as we've already heard, the Almanac is not just a book. It's really already becoming a movement. You said it's already touched more than 1 million people. How can the people on the call today get involved?
Well, this is the key to the whole thing. You can get involved by getting involved. If the educator's guide doesn't match your state requirements, rewrite it. Send us what you come up with and we'll publish it. If you have a way to take 1 page of Page's, the thing that Page led, and make it more appropriate for your kids, go ahead and do it, send it back. We have a network of 2,000 people. You can join us, but we don't have permits or badges. We just do stuff. And there are people in your school who want to do things. And if you can use our model just in the break room, just after school, just in detention, and start doing a couple things and then inviting a couple other people to do them with you, that's how systemic change always happens. It doesn't happen from the top down. It happens from people who are doing the work.
Mm. I love the idea of using this as a detention exercise somehow. Anything else that you really want people on the call to know today? And then I'm going to ask Jenny what questions are piling up in the chat.
I will let other people chime in.
I would say, just going back to the idea of just beginning and just starting, you don't have to be perfect. So a lot of people think, oh my goodness, I need to be if I'm going to be a vegetarian, I need to be the ultimate vegetarian. I can't have an egg one day. No, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can just start, right? You can maybe have 3 meals a week that are a little bit more plant-based. So you don't have to be perfect. And in the classroom, I think that modeling that for kids is a really important lesson, because people get frozen. They get frozen and think, I am not qualified to do this unless I know 100% of everything. And that's just no way to begin.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the process of assembling the book really taught me that. You know, I raised my hand to write an article on something that I already kind of knew something about, and I put out a draft and people made it better. And I thought, wow, that wasn't so hard. And so I just started going down the list, and eventually I was picking things that I knew very little about, but I was really curious about. And so, you know, I wrote 4 or 5 articles, most of which I had no qualification to write, except a willingness to be really curious, go gather the information and translate it so that it was more accessible for the next person. And, you know, I think that's really the spirit of this book, is how do we create that digestible content that allows us to be in conversation with one another in different ways. So Jenny, what is coming through on the chat?
Well, am I unmuted?
Yes.
So, Seth did a really good job the last time he spoke. One of the questions, and we hear this all the time, how do schools get started? You know, this is such critical work. And Seth, I also love the detention. I saw a lot of giggles and head shakes on that one. But, you know, are there, you know, other ways? I mean, again, we could talk about our work, but I'd rather hear, because you have started a movement and you've engaged, you know, hundreds of volunteers. So how can we replicate this in schools, in transforming schools?
So the most popular book I think I've ever written is called Stop Stealing Dreams. It's free. It's still online at stopstealingdreams.com, and it's about education. And I make the argument that organized education in the United States began with something called the normal school in Massachusetts. It was called the normal school because its job was to teach teachers to teach kids to be normal. And that's not a joke. That's actually true.
It's true.
And I believe there's a difference between learning and education. I think education is an industrial activity with certification held at the other end hostage, and we say things to people and they're supposed to write them down, and then there's a test. And learning is always voluntary. Learning is someone wants to become a baseball fan, so they become one. There isn't a baseball exam. They just decide that that's what they want to learn, and it's experiential always. And sometimes the two of them line up. If you have a decent doctor, it's because she went to a medical school where she was educated and also learned. So with that said, I think in this moment, if you've got 7-year-olds or 12-year-olds or 19-year-olds who you are trusted to help learn, is there's so many experiential things for them to do that they can write their own chapter of this almanac. They can do original research about why plastics recycling is a sham and a scam and where it came from. They can understand that carbon footprint is invented by British Petroleum to be a distraction. You don't have to tell them those things. They should go find them out. And so not only will you be making your day better, but you will be supercharging the educational learning process. At the very same time, you help an entire generation do something. So yes, we will support you. We have plenty of books to share and an unlimited amount of free stuff to give you. But you can do this without us. Our job was just to have a spark happen.
And that was the next question. We've put the link in for folks to sign up on the WUFU form for books and let us know how many books that you'd like, and we'll ship them. But the question is, are they limited? Are they limited to one classroom set that can move around a school? Are they limited, to a
Right.
classroom set per building? What are the limits here? Or are there no limits?
Well, I love that there was a question coming in from Santa Fe, so I could mention my dear friend Alan Weber, who's the mayor. And we don't have 1 million books to give out. We have hundreds and thousands of books to give out. But what I believe is, because we don't have any overhead and the book only costs $15, you can find, whether it's the mayor or the school board or a corporate sponsor, someone who's going to say, here's $1,500, go buy 100 more copies, because it's so much cheaper than almost anything schools ever have to buy. So we want this to scale. If you don't have pack printing privileges, we get it. So it's going to be harder for you to print out the kids' book. You may have to have one in the middle and kids pass around. We understand that. We don't have an unlimited amount of paper and unlimited budget, but don't let that get in your way, because you will find people who are desperate to help you go forward. And those people have money to spend to get a copy to every single person who wants one.
I just wanted to add that the educator's guide does not need necessarily a copy of the book to work. We have made it so that you use the same resources, references that the people who wrote the articles. So all that is accessible online on the website. So the educator's guide, if resources are limited, it works on its own and it's free.
Yeah, and I would also just add that not everything needs to be printed. Having a hard copy is nice, but lots of classrooms have iPads, lots of students have access to Chromebooks and other digital technology. And so we've really tried to make the resources very portable and accessible in a lot of different ways too.
So there, and again, I love there are things that I hate about COVID, but there are some things that are really beneficial. And the one-to-one resources that are available in most schools now, and tablets and all of those sorts of things. So we have, for the first time, the capacity for more students across the country to be able to use things that are not paper. And so I think that having these resources digitally, is there a plan for the book to be totally digital?
The book is totally digital. I just don't like it. And the reason is because ebooks have certain magical features. One of them is not that you can share them. You can't. And the other one is you can't easily browse them, leave them around on a coffee table, or give them to someone and thus pay it forward. So yeah, there's a Kindle edition, but I have never once suggested someone buy it, because all of this blood, sweat, and tears went into making something that has the magic of a book associated with it.
Great.
And there's a lot of power in the graphics. Like, I have to say, some of the graphics, the data that's represented in the graphics for different types of learners, sometimes you can skip the 500 words and look at that graphic and learn everything you need to know. And it's really powerful when it's right in front of you.
Yeah. And I would build on what Seth said, in that I also really prefer the physical copy, except in projecting it on a screen. You know, if you have a teacher who wants to show one of those graphs, the digital version is really great for that. And so again, making it more accessible across schools, I think there are ways that they can really play well in tandem with one another. Jenny, I saw some comments in the chat about folks who, you know, were talking about how they could partner or interested in getting involved and engaged. Can you say a little bit about that?
There are a number. We've got an author. In fact, Dave Finnegan and I have been in conversation about his Green Auctioneers, the school district folks, even the service organizations, questions about how service organizations can leverage and use the resource. So again, how would service organizations engage? How would somebody like Dave engage with you and partner with you to expand the reach and leverage of the resource?
So Dave, thank you for the book. I just read the first 30 pages or so, and it's really powerful stuff. What I keep reminding people in our team is the hard work is not to get the word out. The hard work is not hype. The hard work is to create the conditions for an idea to spread. So when I wrote the book, Unleashing the Idea Virus, only 2,000 people downloaded it the first day. And then it went to 4 million, not because I kept talking about it, but because other people sent it to other people, sent it to other people. And that is why we are here talking to you, not to 1 million people in the world, which we could do with a different platform, but because people spreading it to people. If it's okay, I'm going to ask Mark Deutsch to come off mute because he can talk about service organizations better than any human I've ever met, because there is another example of how organizations who have built infrastructures have figured out how to share ideas. So Mark, you want to hop on the call and just tell us what you do and what people could learn from you?
Sure, I would love to. Thanks so much, Seth. I appreciate the mention. And the organization I'm primarily familiar with is Rotary International. And I think Luke also mentioned it in part of the chat, that there are many organizations out in our communities that have educators actively involved, heads of school districts, for example, and supervisors and many teachers. In my club, the head librarian of the local public school is a member, as a matter of fact. So I think there are lots of ways that we can leverage groups like that that have over 1 million members. And it's not just Rotary. There's Lions, there's Optimist Club, there's Kiwanis, lots of other organizations who are individuals that tend to be doers by nature and are really actively engaged in how they can implement and really move on change as opposed to just talk about it, which is a big part of what I think this group is and what educators can do in their communities. So yeah, where there's an opportunity to engage with them, they're always looking for partners and people that they can help. And in many cases, looking for great projects. And one of the things I'm personally passionate about in Richmond, Virginia, where I happen to live, is working with students and school systems on implementing climate-related change and environmental-related causes. So that's one of the things I am interested in. I noticed that this organization exists in the Virginia Beach School District, I believe is what I saw on the website. I'd love to see how we can get more organizations involved, and Rotary and other community service organizations is just one way that I think I can help on my end, and you probably can too in your area.
Great.
And I think it's worth highlighting. Thank you for that, Mark. For 40 years, people who care have been saying, eat a little bit less meat, lower your carbon footprint. Let's just figure out how to put this on the agenda. And for 40 years, it just keeps getting worse. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is help people shift to an emergency footing. It doesn't matter to me whether some state board has decided that this exactly fits the way they want to teach. The way it's going to change is that someone's going to show up and start teaching, and it's going to spread. And the way it's going to spread is because some textbook publisher hears that this is having a lot of success and they'll steal the ideas. Or because so many people call the school board up on the telephone, the way in my town, leaf blowers are now against the law. Leaf blowers were not against the law in my town a year ago. They're against the law now because 45 people bothered the mayor enough times that she said, screw it, leaf blowers are against the law. It doesn't take very many people to put this on the top of their list for the rules to change. But if we wait for rules to change, we're going to be waiting for a very long time.
So we have one hand and one more question to field. And that question is about alignments to standards. And I love the fact that we are all on here with fellow rabble rousers. And, however, our educators are always being pressured because of accountability related to standards. And so what has been done or in the book, how is standards alignment reflected, and can you talk a little bit about that?
All you.
Yeah. So it wasn't an easy thing to address because we were talking to a global audience. We had specifics for each country or in each province, each state. What do we do about it? And then we got bogged down. We got stuck and we decided, no, we're not going to get bogged down. We're going to go ahead and not make it specific to one in particular, but we are open to adapting any of the material to any local, regional region if people are willing to come on board and help us out. So please.
Do you want to, Manon, why don't you put your contact info in the chat in case anyone wants to reach you directly?
Yeah, excellent. And then Dave, you have your hand raised, and then we'll give it back to Jen for the wrap.
Yeah, I'd like to talk about the Green Actioneers Family Action Guide, which I mentioned, and which you can get from the link. It's a 266-page book that was put together by the University of Central Florida sustainability students, undergraduates, and myself over the period of the COVID pause. We didn't know you were doing what you're doing, or we would have just jumped on board. But we decided, because we're in Florida, that we're going to focus on a book that does not mention climate change, global warming, or sea level rise. All we talk about is going green. So we're the Green Actioneers, not auctioneers, although your spell check will change it to auctioneers immediately, but it's Green Actioneers. And it's a coloring book for the little guys. It's got word games for the older kids. And it's in English and Spanish already. And it's got 120 quotes from famous people, including Seth, for instance. It also has two little characters, can do and can't do, and they're from Muga. Muga is Make Our Universe Green Again, and they've come to Earth to find out if we're going to succeed. It's a multicultural adventure story because we have families representing all the people who live in the United States. And we expect to deliver it a very special way. Everybody knows about Scholastic Books. Scholastic Books comes into your school twice a year with a book fair, and they have a whole bunch of books. Well, we're going to do a book fair with two books, my book and your book. And here's how it works. I just came back from spending the summer going to PTA conferences all over the country. At the California PTA conference, I got signups from 150 schools that want the program. At the Florida PTA convention, I got 87 schools that want the program. The program is an all-day program introducing the book to the kids during the day, one grade level at a time, and then having family night in the evening. And at family night, every family is going to get a book. So that's my program, and I would love to work with you to make it our books.
Thanks, Dave. That would be awesome. I love the model of engaging the children and the families. I think that is one of the things that is absolutely essential in every district that we work with across the country. So Jen, I'm going to pull up that final slide for you, and then I'm going to.
Before you do that, I want to just pop over and show folks the website quickly, and then I would love for you to pull that up. Do I have 2 minutes to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. So you've had lots of links dropped into the chat over the last hour, and I just want to demystify a little bit what's at the end of those links. You'll get them all in a resource that we'll share after. Clearer if you said it this way, we're updating those in real time. Most of the things that we've talked about today are here under the extras section. So the kids book, there's a photo book with beautiful images, some disturbing, some inspiring about the impact of climate change. There are 4 different podcasts. The Daily Difference is the email that you can sign up for that has facts and information for you, but also that make it really easy to share with your friends and family. The Educator's Guide, and then Connect the Dots is a new resource that's really about putting it all into action. And so I've got a couple of those links already pulled up here. So this is the kids book, download free. Here are the translations and special editions that Paige was talking about. Here is the Educator's Guide. You can see it itself is a footnote, and this is a beautiful download, really easy to use. If you decide that you want to become a volunteer and be part of the Carbon Almanac network, this is Seth's blog. We'll include this link, and here is the link where you can sign up. So he'll tell you a little bit about what the project is. And, you know, part of what's been really inspiring about this project is that people have been able to sort of dip in and dip out and follow the ebbs and flows of their lives. There's always something that needs doing on any day that you show up. None of us are qualified, but anyone who has, you know, inspiration in their heart to contribute can. We work on a discourse platform. And so all of the coordinating that we've been doing is happening in this virtual space. For folks who are participating, we've got an endless list of tools and resources available to make having these conversations really easy. And so there is so much information and really beautifully designed, easy to use tools available for you to use in your classrooms or just to use to educate yourself and start a conversation with your family and friends. So I'm very grateful for your time today. Jenny, if you want to queue up, I think the final 2 slides that we have.
I'm looking for the controls here. One second.
No worries.
I think it shifted to my other screen.
Here, I'm going to share because I got mine right here.
Oh, perfect. That's perfect. That'd be even better.
Here we go. So these will be, these are in the complete deck that Jenny was sharing from. And so a little bit more information about the Educator's Guide and the kids book. And then this page, we encourage you to print out, share it with your colleagues and friends. All of these QR codes and their sublinks will take you to the resources that we talked about today. And here is where you can go to Seth's blog and get more directly involved if that's something that you are inclined to do. We've got 3 minutes left. And so Jenny, I'm going to hand it back to you. Thank you so much for hosting us today and for drawing a great crowd. Any closing words?
Well, again, I want to thank you for being models of how to create a movement and just jump in and make it happen. So I want to thank you for that inspiration and for the wisdom that you shared and the beauty of the work. I am hopeful that we will continue to work together and play together because it's not just about work, it has to be about play. And hopefully you have all signed up on the WUFU document to have your books shipped to you as soon as possible. We have a system in place. So if you've signed up and registered for books, you should be getting them. Just let us know how many. And without further ado, again, Paige, Manon, Seth, Jen, thank you very much. And thank you to the brilliant educators across the country who are here. Thank you very much for your time and your commitment.